Good evening, everybody, and welcome to A Real Point of View. My name is Greg Morgan, and I am the real movie critic, the real movie guy. And I'm here with my co-host, Miss Karen D. and Stephen C., the man who doesn't pick a bad movie.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, tonight's subject, ladies and gentlemen, is this current decade, from 2007 to 2017, finding the best actors that we felt were the best actors in that decade, and some movies to talk about that they starred in, and led us to this belief that they were worthy. So, without any further ado, let's get this ball rolling. So, Karen, Steve, were you able to find that wonderful actor or actress that, gave this current decade some viability?
I did, but Karen just pretty much crapped all over him.
No, he's a fine actor-ish.
He's a fine actor-ish.
I enjoy his movies.
As do I.
That's all they count.
Therefore, okay, 2 out of 3 people on this panel enjoy his movies. And I think it's an unarguable fact he's come a very long way from his starting roots with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Of course, I'm talking about Keanu Reeves. So, thank you. Karen.
I gave you a golf clap.
All the flavors in the world, and you chose to be salty.
So
I do it with love.
So who did you pick, Karen?
I picked Viola Davis.
Oh, very good choice. Good choice. Well,
Who did you pick, Greg?
Oh, me? Little old me?
Yeah, I dare you to pronounce his name.
Mm-hmm.
I picked Chiwetel Ejiofor. After practicing it like 26 times before I came on the air.
Sadly, that's not how it's pronounced.
It's Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Mm-mm.
Yes, it is. Twice in a row.
No,
And we heard it on a recording, him saying it himself, so I'm good. I'm good.
It's Chewy-ish.
Like she's Viola-ish.
Yeah.
So I guess, ladies and gentlemen, our show is going to pretty much involve ishness throughout the film, throughout the conversation for films. So why don't you get us started, Karen? What is it about Viola Davis? What movies made you feel that she, A, was one of the best actresses in the decade, and B, what compelled you to watch these films and find out just that very fact?
Well, I've been a fan of hers for a long time. She is a graduate of Juilliard. She freely cites Meryl Streep as one of her mentors and idols. And I'd say I first noticed her in the movie, let me see if I can find it. It went back to the 80s.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry, the 90s. And it was called Solaris in 2002. I'm sorry, I went back to 2002. And this was a movie with George Clooney. Before George Clooney, I think he had just left. ER at that time and was making his way into movies. And he was in this movie, and it was a movie in space, and she was in there, and she was really good in that movie. So that's when I first noticed her. But her career in terms of getting roles goes back to 1996. She's done roles on New York Undercover and NYPD Blue. And then she started getting movie roles. She was in Traffic, and that began her association with Steve Soderbergh, who did Solaris as well. And she's one of those people, I think, who she does a really good job of inhabiting a role, and even a small role. She brings a great deal of weight, a great deal of substance to even a small role, and a lot of empathy. It's like she cares about, like, no, whether it's a tiny role or a huge role, each role is important, and the person that is that character has something important to say. And I think that's true. I mean, theoretically, when we talk about movies are heightened life. We don't go to movies to watch boring life. We don't go to movies to watch everyday things. We go to movies to watch life on a much larger stage, where things of great importance happen. So no, there aren't any small characters in a film or on a stage. Just, there just aren't. If they were small, they wouldn't be there. So even if it's a small role, the role deserves importance. There's some reason that it's there. And so it's easy to say that theoretically, intellectually. It's another thing to portray it as an actor. And I think that's the thing that you kind of face if you're at all interested in being an actor. There's that struggle between wanting to get these large roles and make a living, and give import to the small roles that may not propel your career forward at all. And I think she's just really good at understanding the importance of even the smallest role. And I also think, as an actor, she's somebody, because she's so noticeable, maybe that limits her marketability as an actress, because you just go to her. So maybe she draws focus from other actors who may not be as good as she is. I don't know. I know that between 2007 and 2017, she's been blessed with winning an Academy Award and having some really amazing roles. She got to act with her mentor, Meryl Streep, in the movie Doubt that came out in 2008. But she's also been underutilized in other movies. And my first example of that would be Prisoners, which came out in 2013. That movie was with Hugh Jackman, Terrence Howard, Melissa Leo, and Viola Davis. And Viola Davis and Terrence Howard were husband and wife in that movie. They did not really give her that much to do. There was hardly any focus on her role at all. There really wasn't that much focus on Terrence Howard's role either. Unfortunately, that movie suffered from its insane and completely out of the realms of reasonableness focus on Hugh Jackman's character. Mm-hmm. So the movie was weak, but I think she still did a good job of bringing importance to the role. And unfortunately, the director and the production values didn't use what she gave, I think. My guess is that a lot of really great moments of hers were left on the cutting room floor. But be that as it may, so there's that. But she starred in The Help. That came out in 2011, and that's one of my favorite movies that she's in. And this movie is just awesome for so many reasons. One, because it was primarily a female cast, and I mean, I bring that up, and I've said this is not the first time that I've brought this up, but unfortunately, it still happens so rarely that it needs, in my view, it needs to be recognized when it does happen. There aren't enough movies that are greenlit that have an all-female cast, because I think still the conventional wisdom is that women can't carry a movie. Women don't put butts in the seats, don't bring money into the box office. So this movie was really, I think, forward-thinking, in that it had a number of minorities in the cast and starring roles, and it was mostly female cast. Most of the major roles were female, and it was a hit, and it was a critical success. And one of the reasons it was a critical success was because of Viola Davis. The movie focused on her character. She played a maid who was working in a household in the early 1960s in the South. And she's struggling with trying to balance the demands of her life at home, where she actually has a household to take care of, and the very demanding woman and the family that she works for. But at the same time, she's very close to the little girl who's in the family that she works for. They're very close because the mother, frankly, just doesn't pay very much attention to her. So they have this close relationship, and the mother that she works for kind of feels that, the woman of the house kind of feels that, and so she wants Viola Davis's help, but at the same time, she kind of doesn't like Viola Davis because she knows that her daughter actually cares about Viola Davis more than she cares about her. So that's part of it. And then the other premise of the movie is that these African American women who work in these white households are treated, unfairly. They're not treated with dignity. There are a lot of rights that they don't have as employees. And Viola Davis comes across one of the women who is part of one of the households she wants to be a writer. And she decides to write a story about these women called The Help. And Viola Davis decides to sort of tell her off the record or undercover what really goes on with these women. And it's an extremely courageous decision because she faces ostracism, not only from her employers, but also from other women, other colleagues, other women who have similar employment, because they feel like she's going to ruin it for everybody if she tells the truth. And then there's also the issue of, how to be treated with dignity. And Viola Davis in that movie just brought, just so much pathos, just so much sympathy, and just this full-bodied character. And you really felt like you were in her shoes, I think, in watching the movie. And I have to say, I have a soft spot in my heart for this movie. I read the book. And when the movie came out, I could not wait to go see the movie. And I went to see the movie. I'm pretty sure I went to see it the first weekend it came out. And I really enjoyed it, although I think the book was a little bit better than the movie, just because there's things more fleshed out in the book. And that's, it's just the curse of dealing with the 2-hour movie. But overall, the movie was very well done, and it remained very faithful to the book. And the casting, 75% of your movie is casting, and the person who directed this movie, who also directed Ray, if I'm not mistaken. No, I take that back. He didn't direct Ray. But anyway, the person who directed this movie, really focused on the casting. And this movie made Viola Davis an Academy Award nominee. She did not win. Meryl Streep won for The Iron Lady, but she was nominated. And but the Help also made stars out of Jessica Chastain and Emma Stone, and Octavia Spencer. What? I don't know.
Didn't she win supporting actress for that movie? An Academy Award for that movie? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, she did. She's the one who won. She won Best Supporting Actress. Viola Davis was nominated for Best Actress, but she did not win. You're absolutely right. So anyway, so that's one movie. Very strong movie. Prisoners, not a strong movie, but she still gave a fine performance. And then the last movie that I just want to bring up, where she, I think, just gave an amazing performance, is Fences.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I just saw this movie. I just saw it today, actually. And I'm really just shocked no, I'm not shocked. But I think Denzel Washington should have won for Best Director. And frankly, I think he should have won for Best Actor.
I agree. I totally agree on that.
I don't know how he made himself look so broken down and beat up. And I don't know how he got the man boobs going and the big fat butt, but he totally tore that role to smithereens.
Not just that. I'll be honest with you. I apologize for breaking in. I just wanted to say, he made me so mad.
Oh my goodness.
I sat there the day after, still mad at Denzel Washington, and he wasn't Denzel Washington, and that's in the proof in the pudding right there. It wasn't
Right.
Denzel Washington anymore. It was, I think his name was Ray.
Troy Maxon.
Troy. Yeah.
Maxon, yes.
Yeah. We don't want to advocate violence in any way, shape, or form, ladies and gentlemen, but I was wanting to beat this guy up.
Well, so much for not advocating.
The next day, I still wanted to beat this guy up because in my mind, I really get it in my mind, he deserved it. And it was crazy. I'm like, that's not right. But man, how can somebody be so cruel, so vain, and I can keep going on and on and on.
And so selfish, so self-centered.
Oh, totally. On and on and on. The different things I could say. And I'd be right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why he should have won the Academy Award, because I did not see Denzel Washington. I saw Troy, and what I saw I didn't like.
Right. But at the same time, I think his acting job was so masterful that you could also understand just the incredible sort of like granite wall that he was up against, especially, like he got the job as a driver. Well, that took a lot, because I'm sure whatever northern city they were in, and he mentioned it briefly, he came from the South, they end up in this northern city. He's a trash collector, but like they said at the beginning of the movie, the white trash collectors mostly got to drive the trucks, and the black trash collectors mostly got to just empty the trash, and that's it, and never the twain shall meet. He was the first person of color who became a truck driver in this play. So that was something. So obviously, he was a good worker, because they never would have promoted him otherwise. He had to be twice as good, I think, and he would have been the first to say that. At the same time, he was just unfailingly cruel to his son, but he wasn't nearly as cruel to his son as his father had been to him.
Right.
And I recognize some elements from that story, just some of the things that, I can remember hearing growing up. And, so there was that. And then just his complete blind spot when it came to, cheating on his wife, but then, sort of excusing that. And, and it's like, really?
Excusing, justifying, and in all reality, it made no sense whatsoever, except to him.
Right, because she made him feel good, and I'm like, really? And so, to me, Viola Davis, she did win Best Supporting Actress for this role. She did win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for this role, and she deserved it now. And I will say, in my opinion, why she deserved it is because women have a hard way to go in an August Wilson play. August Wilson's a brilliant playwright. I've seen a number of his plays. I've read a number of his plays. But one thing that I will always take issue with is his shaping of women characters. He just doesn't pay that much attention to characters. The men characters in August Wilson's plays are far more fully formed. The women are sort of like satellites of the men, and that's just the way it is in the August Wilson world, much like the world of Shakespeare, where the male characters are much more fully formed most of the time than the female characters are, and so it really takes a wonderful actress to keep focus on her when it's so easy to just sort of like leave her in the background while you focus on Troy, who rightfully in the August Wilson play fills the room. And I mean, they even talk about that in the play, but I think August Wilson designed this play. This was a man's play about a man's life. And definitely a story worth telling, but her story was sort of like, and I remember reading the play and just sort of not really thinking that much about Rose. She just wasn't that important. But you watch the movie and you see Viola Davis just really make her important, turn straw into gold, literally, from an acting standpoint, because this woman takes on flesh and bone and, you know, tears and joy. And it looks like she's the glue that holds the family together, really. Not Troy, but
Right.
Rose.
By no means was it Troy. So just to be very clear, talking to our viewers out there, Viola Davis and Denzel Washington reprised their roles from stage to film.
Right.
And Denzel Washington getting the nod to direct the film because it was his baby here. And still such a stellar job. Appreciated that movie quite a bit. But you know, it's interesting. You were talking about smaller roles, but not necessarily lesser roles. And a very good example of that is Doubt. Viola Davis was not very much of the film, yet it was a very poignant presence and necessary for the flow of the movie. So, yeah, just a very good actress. I agree with you she's really good.
I think she's brilliant, and I love her in How to Get Away with Murder, which is a television property, but I still love her in that. She's been in the Jesse Stone movies on Hallmark. I mean, she works on Hallmark. She works in Lifetime. She was in this TV movie called Custody, which I loved. It was about family court. It's one of the issues that I work on in my day job, and so I was very interested in that. She's even been in a Medea movie. She was in Medea Goes to Jail. I don't know what the heck she was doing in that movie. And you know, Eat, Pray, Love, and Beautiful Creatures. She also, another movie where you didn't see a whole lot of her, but she was completely impossible to miss, was Get On Up, the biopic of James Brown. She played James Brown's mother.
Yeah.
And she was awesome in that movie. And I mean, probably total screen time was maybe 10 minutes or so, but you remember every single minute, because every time she stepped onto the screen, your eyes went to her because you just wanted to hear what she had to say or what she was going to do. So she really is brilliant. I can't wait. Some things that are on the horizon for her. Next year, a movie called Widows, where she plays Veronica. Also rumored is a movie about Harriet Tubman that does not yet have a title, where she would be playing Harriet Tubman, and another biopic about Barbara Jordan is rumored, where she would be playing Barbara Jordan, and I would love to see what she does with both of those women.
Now there's a lesser movie, but I enjoyed it anyway, that she had done recently. The name of the movie escapes me slightly. I think it was Irish and something, maybe. It was with Jennifer Lopez.
Lila and Eve?
Yeah, I actually liked that movie. I liked it because, and again, it's just me. I wasn't looking at it to be this very cerebral thing. I was looking at it more just to see, because I like Viola Davis. I was looking at it pretty much for that. And I'm not a huge fan of Jennifer Lopez, but I don't dislike her either. So I saw this movie and it didn't hit me. And maybe because I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have. But there is a twist in this movie. This movie where Viola Davis is the primary in the film, and it's a twist in the film, and I didn't get it until the middle of the film. And once I got it, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, what an idiot. Oh, I should have got that. So I think it's worth watching anyway, just if for no other reason, to get the twist.
Oh, okay. No.
But it's a decent movie. And here's another film, Karen, that you'll appreciate. its majority of the actors in this film are women.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, then I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah.
She was also with Maggie Gyllenhaal in a movie called Won't Back Down. Not a strong movie, but both women, it wasn't because of these women's work, because they were both awesome in the movie, I thought.
What about you, Steve? First of all, any comments about what Karen's mentioned as far as Viola Davis?
She has the greatest cry face in Hollywood.
She does.
And I really feel like that's a bit. Saying it's like, oh, she's got a cry face. It's not in any way like an insulting comment. What it is she really has a true way of making you feel the emotions she's trying to portray, and she really shows them very well on her face, so that you really feel in line with the characters, and you're understanding exactly the depth of anger or sadness or anything else they happen to be going through. Even though they're crying, it doesn't mean they're sad. Could be, infuriated, anything. And she does a really good job of portraying that visually by using her face as well as her great acting chops.
Yeah, I agree. Very much so.
That's a good pick, Karen. It's a good pick, Karen.
Thanks.
So, Steve, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your pick? And I'll start off by saying I remember seeing this guy in, like you said, what is it? Ted and
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Mhm.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I did remember seeing him in that. Didn't remember that movie that well because, again, it wasn't a cerebral film. It was more of a just have a fun kind of film. And but I do remember him in a movie with I had her name on my lips. She was in Galaxy. Oh my God, that's
Are you talking about
Bullock.
Sandra Bullock?
It's Sandra Bullock.
Are you talking about Speed?
I'm talking about Speed. But let me quit talking
Yeah, who
about
knew
it.
they could make a bus ride so entertaining?
But it was, and that's what was interesting about it. I actually thought it was interesting the whole time. So why don't you take it away and let me not, by any means, cloud your thunder there, brother. Give us some Keanu Reeves.
I really, really enjoy Keanu Reeves. One thing I really adapt well with this actor is, since I've been watching TV shows, not TV shows, but since I've been watching movies, he's been making movies. He started in the 80s. He started on TV in 1984. He has over 90 filmography accreditations to his name. And he starred with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, from Al Pacino to Forrest Whitaker. He was in Point Break with Patrick Swayze. He was opposite Sandra Bullock in Speed. He starred with Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Right.
In the John Wick movies, he's with Ian McShane. In the second one, he's with Common. And just the list goes on and on. Morgan Freeman in Chain Reaction. The list goes on and on of guys he's been opposite of, and he's been pretty well praised by all of them. When he's worked with them, they've enjoyed working with him. They've always had nothing but good things to say. Most people always venture back to the Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, where they see Keanu Reeves and all they think of is, whoa. And just that, that dumb skater 80s trope that goes around, but he's evolved with all of his movies. And I feel like every lead and every side character he's played he's brought out the best in them that he can do, even when the movies aren't really there and they're not over the top and they're not as cerebral or as fun or action oriented. In certain ones, he comes across as a very understandable character and plays all of his characters the way I feel that they should be played. They should carry this emotion. They should have this in his portrayal of John Wick in the first movie, you see a rage behind him, but you also see this deep sadness that's going on and a confliction that he has because he's trying desperately to keep a promise that he made, but he understands that if he doesn't do this, then there's a sense of dishonor that's going on about him. The first movie I want to talk about is Street Kings, and he stars opposite Forrest Whitaker. Hugh Laurie is in this. Chris Evans is in this. Common, Cedric the Entertainer. The cast is really good. The acting is for a cop drama very, very well done. He also takes the time to research the kind of character he's going to be playing by talking to real people in real positions and developing a methodology to how he's going to portray his character through them. By interviewing police officers, taking police classes so he understands the words and the terminologies that he needs to use correctly. Street Kings, he plays a cop that works for a vice unit that kind of does some underhanded and shady, dirty stuff, but there's massive good intentions behind what he's doing. Terry Crews used to be his partner, and they have a clashing back and forth of Crews is trying to go straight, but Keanu Reeves is still staying on the down low and working with a guy, Forrest Whitaker's character, who's brought him up since he first got into the police force and has been a mentor to him and is taking care of him. And they clash back and forth, which ends up resulting in Keanu's character going to confront him because he believes he's a snitch. And that's kind of one of the things when it comes cop to cop or person to person, you just don't do. And it's more of a backstab. But in confronting him, he ends up watching and becoming a part of a character's death in it that really sets the stage for the movie that's going. And he amazing job of slowly coming to the understanding that maybe what he's doing, maybe what he's working for isn't quite on the level that he thinks it's at. And he's trying to make little changes and little adjustments while trying to discover who in fact killed his one-time friend, a cop on the police force. So it's, he really feels obligated to do that for him. And it just kind of goes from there. The back and forth between Forrest Whitaker and Keanu is very well done. Hugh Laurie brings his very, very talented style to this movie. And he doesn't have very much to say in the movie or much presence as a whole, but every scene he's in, he grabs your attention, he makes you focus, and he kind of keeps the movie going at a steady pace, even though he only appears in these slow, kind of lulled action scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's a good movie.
The next one I want to talk about is Ronin.
Ronin. Okay. Now this movie I don't know.
It's
all this martial arts and Buddhism Zen people know.
It's actually based on loosely, we'll say outrageously loosely based on the story of the 47 Ronin, a group of masterless samurai that in the 18th century Japan avenged the death of their lord, which they believe was falsely what's the word I'm looking for? Sentenced to commit seppuku on the actions of another feudal lord. So they get revenge. They're allowed to commit seppuku, which is an honorable action among the samurai, even though it is a suicide. It's for you're only allowed to do that as an honorable feat. You can't have been fully dishonored or be just anybody and be redeemed in the afterlife for committing seppuku. Keanu Reeves does a good job in this one, I believe, by playing a outsider who's been brought into this group, but he's still outsider. Everything he does is looked down upon. Even people take glory for things that he does to help them, because he's not allowed to have good things. He's not allowed to stay in the
Main
town
house.
that they live in. Well, not just the house. He's not allowed to even stay in the town. He's actually out off the beaten path, out in kind of the wooded area away, because they don't want to see him close, or kind of be associated with him, even though they are.
Right. It's kind of a catch-22.
Right. And he slowly, as the movie goes on, he starts to gain the trust of the 47 Ronin after their master's been killed, and because they feel like they need him. Now, this is where the movie goes into a lot of Japanese folklore, dealing with mythical dragons and demons, and it's a great crossover with taking reality and adding the fantasy to it, like old stories used to be told from Greek, Chinese, Japanese, Hindu mythologies.
Mm-hmm.
Egyptian, which is one we're starting to get more and more common with. I'm starting to see it more and more. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But with the mummy coming out. And
did he do, is there a specific kind of research that he did for this role?
I think it's
That
just
you know of?
studying. I don't know if there's any actual, I know he's good at doing research for his movies, so I'm sure he did. But the story as a whole, and the being an outsider and transferring to inside, to being a part of a group, and earning trust and loyalty, even though he's not accepted, and even toward the end, toward the halfway, he's still not fully accepted until everything starts to go kind of south, and they really understand how much he's trying to do to help them accomplish their mission.
Oh.
And I feel like it's more research and more reading than actual action of talking to people and understanding the story and how people would react and act. I know there was sword fighting training for this movie. A lot of these people have, a lot of the Asian actors have appeared in other movies, such as The Last Samurai, and what's his name? I love him as an actor. I can't think of his name, but he's also in The Wolverine.
Right. He plays the other main character in the Ronin movie.
Not the grandfather, but the father in The Wolverine.
Right. He plays the father in the Wolverine. He plays the right-hand man of the samurai that he follows in The Last Samurai, who was the statesman. And this guy, I can't think of his name either, but he's a very good actor, and he's actually a very good samurai swordsman, to be honest. I think Keanu Reeves, though, if we go back in time, he's had martial arts training, if for no other reason, for his role in The Matrix, right? And he's been in other movies that have had martial arts in it that may not have been main stage films, but he has been in a few of those. So I think his training and his understanding of the Japanese way goes back years. So I think this just prepared him to be even that much more efficient in this film.
Yeah, and that's visually, this film is beautiful from every scene, even the scenes where it's a darker tone and atmosphere, just all around. All the scenes at night still has a certain beauty to it. In some ways, almost like paintings that you would see from old folklore and everything. And then, of course, toward the end of the movie, there's the true acceptance, and then the end of the 47 Ronin, and how this story is actually still handed down as a story of sacrifice and honor and loyalty that are help people, trying to guide people toward being better in the future, and understanding who they should be in their later life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The last movie I want to talk about is John Wick. Keanu Reeves, again, like I said earlier, does a great job portraying a sense of anger and a sense of sadness in this entire movie. And then at the end, having, you know, some small semblance of accomplishment and understanding that, especially in the first film, that it's over. Well, only in the first film, that it's over for him. And he went through a huge amount of tactical training and understanding of weaponry for this movie. Every scene is shot with such care and discipline from every actor that's involved in this film. And his portrayal of the character, the words, his interactions with every other character, they change so much from what you would consider a good guy in this world to what you would consider a bad guy in this world. But his demeanor is still the same. He's very distant. He's not happy to be here at any given point in time in this movie. He doesn't want to do this, but he understands that he has to. Visually, the movie's amazing. The story that they have built, where they have immersed you in this world that exists inside of the world that we know, is very well done to the smallest details, such as the little coins or shops or the bars that are kind of hidden away. And I feel like it's a very well done film, to all the way to the second one. The second movie, instead of just, you know, different direction and doing something completely outrageous, they took everything that they did in the first movie and were just like, okay, we're going to do this, but we're going to expound on it a little bit. We're going to introduce you to new characters, but we're not going to, you know, completely delve completely into new characters, because this is about John Wick and his interaction with people. And again, you get a second film where he's not really excited to be there. He's not happy to be doing what he's doing, but he's not as enraged or deeply saddened till certain parts of the film. He doesn't carry the weight of what he lost from the first film.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's a sense of calm or relief to some degree.
Yes.
But that's only early.
Until, you know, and it does do a good job in the first 15 minutes of carrying over from the first film of the same story, and then it starts to branch off from there. That way you kind of get a reintroduction, and then boom, new stuff. And it's got more Ian McShane, and I think we can all live a better life with more Ian McShane in our life.
That's true.
Now, an actor that's in both films is Lance Reddick, and his role is very minimal, but it just seems necessary. The concierge, and when John Wick goes to Ian McShane's place, and he is greeted by a very stoic yet very polite Lance Reddick, who in both films, it's important that he sees this guy. And it's important that this guy is there. And it's just funny because Lance Reddick is a pretty big television star, not so much a big movie star. And it's nice to see him get a small role in both films.
Yeah, he did a very good job with his reactions and looks, and he really commands the scene while he's there.
Yes, he does. He does.
So I have a question then.
Okay.
Okay. Keanu Reeves' career has definitely had sort of an up and down trajectory over the years. I mean, he was like the romantic lead and kind of like the it guy in the late 80s into the 90s. The Matrix really put him on the map as like a leading man, but also as a really awesome actor. I can't remember the name of the movie he was in with Al Pacino, where Al Pacino was
Devil's Advocate.
The Devil's Advocate, that was it, exactly. Or it was a Devil's Advocate, but whatever. That movie, which is one of my favorite movies with Keanu Reeves. And then also Bram Stoker's Dracula was, I thought, another really good movie with Keanu Reeves. What is it that makes his, I mean, how do you think he's rated as an actor? I mean, there's also there's been a significant amount of time where he's just kind of dropped out of Hollywood, not really been that much of a presence in terms of Hollywood, and certainly, and maybe not like the first name you think of when you think of like, you know, like major like actors. He might be a working actor, which is definitely saying something, but in terms of like star power, it's like his name may not be the first one that comes to mind. So what about him makes him a great actor over these last 10 years?
I feel like the depth that he's put into his movies, the developing the characters, understanding terminology and actions that the characters would use and would do on a daily basis, but also keeping to its. Keanu Reeves is kind of one of those actors that when you look at him in a role, you still see Keanu Reeves, but
Right.
he does a great job that even though you see it's Keanu Reeves, he does a great job of being a different Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
If you catch my drift, it's not like he completely is engrossed in his characters, but he's done enough to that you don't see him up there on the screen, even though you know it's him. It's not like Heath Ledger would be a young one that I would have considered engrossing themselves in the movies, but Daniel Day-Lewis really takes the time to perfect his character, to understand and grasp everything that they did in their life, how they acted, little nuances. His portrayal of Lincoln, historians have said, is the most accurate portrayal that anyone has ever done to what Lincoln would have really sounded like, the way he stood, walked, presented himself. I feel like Keanu Reeves is kind of in the middle of being an actor where you're just like, oh, that's Ben Affleck has that problem for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I go and I see a Ben Affleck film, I see Ben Affleck. I have a hard time seeing the character unless the movie is just over the top really good, because that's just who he is. Keanu Reeves, I see Keanu Reeves, but I'm able to see the person he's portraying as well.
Okay.
And that's why I feel like he's done a good job over the last 10 years. Yes, he kind of drops in and out of the limelight, and you're right, being a working guy in Hollywood is where you want to be, but he also does movies that he wants to do. And I feel like he's worked long enough that he's able to put himself where he feels he's most comfortable and where he feels he can get the most out of who he's going to portray and what he's going to do. And that's where I feel like his success is.
Do you think he's underrated as an actor?
I would say he's underrated as an actor. I mean, not by any means. I love Keanu Reeves, but not by any means is he gonna, make a list of the top 15 actors to ever exist in Hollywood or to ever be put on screen. But I feel he's also not beyond. He's not like a guy you put at the back half of the top 100. Which a lot of people view him that way, and a lot of people see Keanu Reeves' name and just go, "Oh, it's Keanu Reeves. It's the whoa guy."
Right.
Or it's Neo from The Matrix, and that's all he's ever going to be, and that's his entire claim. And they don't go see those movies, but they should go see those movies because of what he does for his characters and what he does bring to the screen, and making you understand going to a movie and feeling a true emotion with the movies in those movies. I feel like he does a really good job at that.
Interesting.
Very cool, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Now let's see if Greg can say it.
Oh, very funny.
Can you say the name?
Yes, I can.
Well, first take. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Okay, just
Well, you don't have to. You don't
try
have to
to
tell.
feel.
You don't have to tell me and edge me with your forearm to get the name out.
Shoot.
So the actor for my decade is Chiwetel Ejiofor. Not an easy name to say, but he is definitely an actor that you should be aware of. Probably one of the more focal characters that we've seen within this decade for him that made a little bit more noise, we'll say, as a film was the film 12, excuse me, 12 Years a Slave. He is the main character in the film. He plays Solomon Northup, and this is based off of a true character in American history. And for his efforts in the film, he was nominated for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe. And he actually won the British equivalent of the Academy Award for Best Actor.
BAFTA.
BAFTA, the British, I think it's what is the British Academy of Film and TV Arts
Yes.
Award. And, you know, my first, let me go it this way. I think he's a great actor. He's been in quite a few films. For those of you who are into Marvel, he's in Doctor Strange as the acolyte that helps him understand his powers. And then in American Gangster with Denzel Washington, he plays Huey Lewis, which is Denzel Washington's brother in the film. But those were not large roles necessarily, but poignant. But the film that actually brought him to my doorstep and my introduction to him was a film that came out in 2008, which is called Red Belt. So, Steve, you were talking about Keanu Reeves' martial arts essence, his those abilities, his samurai abilities in the 47 Ronin. Well, here's a situation where I never thought of him as a martial artist, but my introduction to him is martial arts. The name of the movie is Red Belt. Came out in 2008. And the essence of the film is about a martial arts instructor who has as many of his clientele police officers. And his wife is Portuguese, and a lot of her family, majority of her family, her brothers, her cousins, even her father, are all involved in the same martial arts. And in this film, the martial arts is jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So in what goes on in the film is his struggle with his in-laws, his wife, a situation that occurs dealing with the police department, and then a happenstance situation where he's in a bar that is actually owned by his brother-in-law. And while he's on his way out, more or less, there's a man in the bar, a famous man who's a movie star, and he gets in a fight with someone he cannot by any means fight. And Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, which is Mike in the film, steps in, and you see these moves quickly and how he overpowers this guy seemingly without any effort. And I got to get the name of the actor from Tool Time. I cannot think of his name.
The actor from Tool Time.
Right, the TV show.
You mean Home Improvement?
Home Improvement, and the show on the show was Tool Time, wasn't it?
Right.
Tim Allen, that's it.
Yes, Tim Allen.
Tim Allen. So Tim Allen is the movie star who's totally impressed, and so now he wants to get Mike to be involved in as his consultant for martial arts on the film that he's making, which is a military movie. And he gives him a present. Well, the present comes up to be something that was obtained illegally, and he does not know this. And he he takes the present because he's not a very worldly guy, he's very minimalistic, and he gives it to the police officer. So now there's a problem that comes up, and so he's dealing with all these different facets. But the most important facet is the martial art itself, the truism of the martial art, keeping everything pure and being a purist about the art. And he's finding out that his in-laws are not doing that. One of his brother-in-laws is one of the best heavyweight jiu-jitsu artists in the world, and they're trying to bring the major worlds of jiu-jitsu together, the Japanese side and the South American side together. And the major masters of this wonderful art. And there's an undertone, there's an underbelly that's not right. And so in this movie, he's trying to make everything right and bring everything to the forefront. And he's not going to allow this match to go on when it's dishonoring everything that they believe in, everything that the art is true essence of, everything. These two masters, it would be it's a faux pas, it's a travesty for them to do this. So in one of the scenes where, you know, just like in the boxing rings, you've got the fighter coming out of the tunnel, he is fighting his brother-in-law in the tunnel to prevent him from making a mockery of their art.
Oh.
And so that's a big scene in this film. And so that was my introduction to him, and I really enjoyed that film. I've seen that film twice. And then the next film that I wanted to talk about briefly was a film that I saw relatively recently with my family when I was visiting Chicago. And the name of the movie is 999.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie, and it's got some really decent actors in it. One of my
Anthony
favorite,
Mackie.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of my favorite actors of recent years, of this past decade, pretty much, has been Anthony Mackie. Who, for those of you out there who are Marvel fans, he plays the Falcon in the Avengers, and he's a pretty decent actor. And Casey Affleck is in this movie, who I think is actually a better actor than his brother. Ben Affleck.
The bar kind of low, but okay.
But I'm just saying, I think he's a better actor. Woody Harrelson's in this film. I mean, it's a really decent film with some good actors. And this is a situation where you've got a man who is a thief. That's just basically, he's a thief, but he's a very good thief. He's usually very calculating. He's a planner. He tries to make sure that there's no issues so they can get in, get out. Problem is, now he has to deal with some crooked cops, and that makes his situation that much harder. But even more so, and the thing that's really what's driving him, is the promise of being able to see his son. So he has a child out of wedlock, and fortunately, the woman that he has a child with is part of the Russian mafia. And so as a ploy to get him to do things for them, they keep his son as a hostage. Now, technically, he's not a hostage, he's with his mother, but at the same time, it's keeping it a hostage from him. And so they're saying, well, they're going to give you more privilege, give him more privileges if he steals this, to give him more privileges if he does this. And so he's trying to do these things. They say, okay, this is the last time. And then it seems like it's never the last time. So there's this struggle that he has to go through with regard to that. And then he's got some crooked cops who are on the take, and everyone seems to be messing up. Everyone seems to be, you know, the different ones involved are having issues. And then there's the one person among the different police officers that they don't understand and know enough about to know what he's truly up to. So this is a really good film. I'm not going to try to be a spoiler in any of the films, but I think this goes to show another level of him going from this very pious type person to now he's a very calculating criminal who lets emotion guide his way, which is something early on in the film that he would not do. And then the last film I wanted to talk about was 7 Years a Slave.
What?
7 Years a Slave.
7 years a slave?
I'm sorry, 12 Years a Slave. Excuse me.
Oh,
I've got 47
maybe
Ronin.
there's another movie that came out that I missed.
I had 47 Ronin in my head, so I had the number 7 in my head.
You're welcome.
Thank you. But I wanted to talk about 12 Years a Slave. I'm really, anyone that's watched any of our episodes in the past knows that I'm really heavy into biopics. This is a story about a person who was a free man, and who was duped into bondage by some men who were trying to get, more and more free men to become slaves.
Like
basically.
slave bounty hunters, basically.
Yeah, bounty hunters and opportunists, really, to
Right.
try to, who are more devoted to the South, and who are trying to get, more and more people, like you said, Karen, bountied or stolen and put into slavery. And so here's that situation. A man who's married, has children.
And he was in the North. He was in,
And he was in the North,
I
right?
believe he was in Boston, and he made a living as a violinist. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like she said. And he was actually very respected in the community.
Greg, why are you even here?
He had friends in the community. I think just to start the show, I think mostly ask a few questions and then, just kind of sit back and
I'm sorry. It's just, I really like this movie too.
do this with my fingers a lot. You take it on, yeah. Movies like this, though, are very hard for me, partially because any true story brings a little bit of emotion to myself, and it's probably why I enjoy watching them, even though it's kind of an oxymoronic kind of joy, because it tells a story about our history. And it tells a story about a history that a lot of us don't really want to talk about typically in our history. And it gives us an opportunity, though, to be a part of a trueness, a part of life that, should bring us together in understanding about how life has been in the past. And by the way, Karen, it wasn't Boston, it was New York.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no worries. But he was abducted and sold into slavery, basically.
And taken below the Mason-Dixon line.
Right. And so his whole thing, like many other slaves, is to try to find a way to get away and get back to what he knows. But when you're in a place that you know nothing about, don't understand or have any true reason to have any hope that you'd ever find, determination, prayer, affiliation, new friends, new acquaintances. One of the things that he was very good at was music. Another thing that he was very good at was with his hands. He befriends a person who is not a person who endorses slavery, in the character that Brad Pitt plays in the film. And he's able to, through information from him and through his help, find a way to get out. But now he still needs that help. And it seems like it's not going to happen. You're talking about 12 years. That's a long time when you're a slave in bondage. That's a long time when hope is just not your friend. And so we watch this character, Northrop, go through this throughout this film. And I think Chiwetel Ejiofor does a superb job in portraying this. Now, that wasn't the last movie. I said last movie. There was another film that I wanted to talk about. And this one shows another level of Chiwetel Ejiofor's acting prowess, I would say. And it was a movie that came out in 2015 with Julia Roberts. as one of the main characters, and the name of the movie is Secret in Their Eyes.
Yeah, I really like this movie.
As do I. And I think you have camaraderie in this film, so much so, and a love for one another, that you're going to do anything you can to try to appease that other person when a tragedy strikes. You want to be a part of that person's, for lack of a better way of saying it, closure, but also their development of cure for that person in this film. And he was everything like that. So correct me if I'm wrong, because I think they were police detectives, I think.
Investigators, I
and
want to say,
they were like,
not typical police. It's more like
they're like a
NSA
special,
type or special
they're
type
like a special unit
yeah,
of police detectives.
of investigating.
Yeah, and when tragedy strikes, one of their members in Julia Roberts, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character is right there to be that supportive friend. So much so that years later, when they're still dealing with this, it's a cold case now that this was what was involved here. He's still working the case, even though he's no longer with them in that department any longer. And he's still trying to figure out how to find this person who was killed someone that they loved. And he's dogged. We're talking 10 almost 10 years later, almost, that he's still looking and trying to find something. And when he finds something and sees something after all this time, he rushes to give them the information and the news. Now, the cool thing about this movie is it's another film where there's twists and turns. And that's probably why I like this movie so much.
Mm-hmm.
His dogged nature, his relentlessness, his love of friendship, his love of loyalty brings him almost to the brink. And when the twists and turns occur, you expect he's going to react one way. And now you have to see if he reacted the way that makes sense, or if he reacted a way that would put him in peril for the rest of his life. Those are the things that this movie prompts you to look at throughout the essence of the film. And this is one of the better films I've seen recently. And really, really like this film, but even more so, really like his part in it. He is an actor that finds a way to really bring out the emotions. And whether he is being pleasant, whether he's being sad, whether he's being angry, he shows you all these different emotions. And he's very convincing. He reels you in. You want to be a part of what it is, even if it's not a good thing. You still want to be a part of what's going on because of how well he does as an actor. You don't see the actor as much as you see the character's situation.
Yeah.
He's very good at giving you a character's situation, and he's very believable. You really think he's these people. And I think that is a testament to how well he does as an actor, in definitely in the films that I've mentioned, and in the films that he's in that I have not mentioned. He's just a really good actor. And I've even seen him in some television because he's actually a British actor. So I've seen him in some BBC TVs, and I think one is called Shadow. Oh, what is it? Shadowline. It's a.
I don't know that one.
It was a mini series, and the essence of the character. He's a police officer in this film, but he's just coming back from leave because he had been shot in the chest and the head. He had been shot in the head, and the bullet's still in his head. But he's back on duty. He's a sharp guy. He's smart, uber intelligent, but there's that thing that's going on that could be a time bomb in his head. So he's a really good actor. I think everybody should take it an advantage and try to see the films that I've mentioned. Definitely you want to see Red Belt. It's actually a really good movie. It would behoove you to see 12 Years a Slave and also Secret in Their Eyes. And, you know, he's in another good movie with Angelina Jolie, and that came out in 2008, I think, called Salt. He's an FBI agent in that.
I don't remember that movie.
Yeah, Salt is a twist and turn almost from its onset. And basically, it's the primary character is Angelina Jolie. She works for like the FBI, and she's like a profiler. And she's trying to work on this case where some Russians are doing all this work, and she's trying to get them, you know, they finally capture somebody that's having to do with their case, and they're trying to get information out of them. And she's the expert, speaks Russian and all this stuff, and she's the profiler. And then the twist and turn is you find out that she's actually a
Double agent.
A sleeper. I was going to say a sleeper.
Or sleeper.
Yeah. And then you realize, okay, now how does this translate? She's trying to get away now. And the person chasing her is Chiwetel Ejiofor. So it's a really decent movie, and I just think he's a really good actor, and I look forward to better things coming for him too. But he's part of the Marvel universe now, so he's going to be in a few more Marvel films that deal with Doctor Strange especially.
Cool.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think Chiwetel Ejiofor I think he's an awesome actor. I mean, for one, he has American accents down cold. I don't know why the Brits find it so much easier to do American accents, but they probably go to school for it or something. And he takes
Oh, I believe they have better time to they have better things to do than that. But yeah.
nah.
It's after tea. That's
yeah. And after the tea and crumpets, darling. But he also plays like a range of roles. Like in 999, he was this really gritty sort of, you know, cop, and you weren't sure if he was like an honest cop or a dishonest cop, or was he part of the problem or part of the solution? You didn't know. I mean, the movie kept you guessing from the beginning to the end. But so that was 999. But then, you know, you have him, and he was in another like miniseries for Starz called Dancing in the Dark, where he played a jazz pianist, the leader of a jazz band at turn of the century, an American band that was trying to make a living over in England at a time when jazz was thought of as like jungle music or really primitive, or, you know, and they were trying to make a living over there. And then there was a murder mystery that ends up being part of the story. So it was really well done. There were only about 7 or 8 episodes, I think, and then that was all she wrote. But he was the star of that series. He did a great job. So there he's playing, you know, a musician. But, you know, he's been like a scientist, like in Hidden Figures. He was one of the, was he in Hidden Figures?
No,
he wasn't. There was some movie where he played, oh God.
The Martian?
I'm
Yes.
sorry, it was The Martian.
It's The Martian.
But he played like one of the lead scientists for The Martian. He was like one of the NASA space engineers. So he plays this really wide range of roles, street roles or corporate roles, or, you know, ethically ambiguous roles, or ethically very straight arrow type roles.
And he's about to do Othello.
Okay, well, that's not that high a bar if you ask me, since,
Well,
you
but
know,
it's Shakespeare. That's all.
yeah, well, Bill
Amazing.
Shakespeare's a Brit. It's like he's playing, you know, it's like Old
Next
Homewood
door.
or
I
something.
know.
Right. So, yeah. But anyway, I mean, since there aren't any actual like American actors of color, it's great that we can enjoy his work.
Yeah, some of the better actors that are in playing these wonderful roles, like uh, um, Idris Elba,
David Oyelowo.
David Oyelowo, especially David Oyelowo. He pops up everywhere. In fact, he was in the movie you were talking about earlier. He was in The Help. He plays the minister, pastor of the
Right.
church.
He sure does.
He's in a lot of Ava DuVernay films.
Right.
He was also in with Forrest Whitaker and Oprah Winfrey in The Butler. I mean, he played
Right.
the son. So he's all over the place. And the same thing with Chiwetel Ejiofor. He's in Inside Out with Denzel Washington. He's in 2 films with Denzel. As I alluded to before, he's in American Gangster also. So he shows
Inside
up.
Man.
Inside
Right.
Man, thank you.
Inside Man.
Yeah, he shows up and shows out.
This is true.
Yeah, so definitely want to take the opportunity to see this man in film. He's one of the good ones. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was my person for the decade between 2007 and 2017. You heard my co-conspirators here and their upbringings of who they felt were that viable person to watch in this decade. I wonder who that next person's going to be in the next decade, or who else is going to emerge within this time frame. This is 2007.
I feel like one guy that's going to get better with age is Tom Hardy.
Love Tom Hardy.
I
Oh
feel
my
like
God, that guy
and
is.
it's not just the action movies that he's done. It's certain biopics and just kind of under the radar movies that he's done, where he's going to be in the Dunkirk, and which I have high hopes for that movie.
Which movie was that again? I'm sorry.
Dunkirk.
As he gets older, he's going to become such a better actor, even though he's really getting to become a great one right now, and is kind of going to headline as a next big movie actor.
Yeah, what was it? The one he did with the Frontier movie that he did recently with the bear. What is that movie?
Called The Bear?
No, it's a running joke that the bear was such a good actor in the movie.
The Revenant.
The Revenant. Thank you. Yeah, and Tom Hardy is the evil guy in The Revenant.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And so that just goes to show you. And then he plays the iconic British, and also too, Karen, he's British, and he plays the 2 brothers.
He's everyone.
Yeah, he plays the twin brothers who are evil.
In Legend,
and it's based off of 2 twins that were criminals in England. And he does a good job because he plays both characters. He plays both of them. And of course, Warrior is one of the first times I saw Tom Hardy. And his physical prowess is ridiculous. The guy's muscular. And the movie Warrior is about ultimate fighting. And he's just so good in that movie. And there's a TV series that he's in now that
Taboo.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good show. He's a stud. I agree. That guy's a good actor.
Which the one thing about that is he's actually the co-creator and executive producer for that show. So
I
he's
don't
really
doubt it.
branching out. for his repertoire.
Hmm. Well, I think another actor who I expect to do great things over the next few years is Chadwick Boseman.
Steve and I were talking about him just a little bit ago. He's in the Marvel spinoff, which is Black Panther, and
Yes.
the trailer came out today.
Yes. But he did an awesome job as James Brown. He did an awesome job as Jackie Robinson
42.
In 42. And there's been other things that he's done. I think he did a comedy at some point. Yeah, I'm really glad to see him in the Marvel series because it definitely stretches a different set of acting muscles. He said in interviews he was worried about being slotted into being like Mr. Biopic. And he did not want that. He wanted, because he feels like he can do a broad range of things, comedic roles, dramatic roles. He could be the crook, he could be the cop, the good guy, the bad, the medium guy, the ambiguous guy, whatever kind of guy you need him to be, he can be that guy.
Now, he had a very small role, but the role was still poignant in Marshall about of course, it's a biopic about the plane crash of the football players, but he was in that movie. That was the first time I had ever seen him. And,
I think he plays Ernie Davis in the Express.
Oh.
No.
He's not Ernie Davis? Oh, okay. I thought he was. My bad. I apologize.
It's okay.
I failed.
But
I failed you all.
But he's going to actually be Thurgood Marshall in the upcoming movie Marshall.
Chadwick Boseman is?
Yes.
Oh, wow. How are they going to do that? Because he's not even close to being old enough to play.
He might be playing the younger.
Makeup.
He might also be playing the younger, for all we know.
Right.
Because we don't know what the movie is going to. It may be just a civil rights era.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Judge era.
Who do you, Karen? Who do you believe a upcoming female actor is gonna take off here in the next little bit?
Wow, well, that's a good question.
I mean, not to throw a British name out there, but I feel like we've accomplished all of that. But everybody says Emma Watson's the next big female actor.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think she's really good. I really liked. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I'm not a fan of the books. I'm not a fan of the movies. I've seen 2 Harry Potter movies, but the one thing that I liked about those movies, even though I felt like I was, a victim of a kidnapping, was that as I had to sit through them, I liked her. I thought she was everything that Daniel Radcliffe wasn't as an actor, and she made the films watchable. So I really liked her in that, and I think she, it seems to bring like a wisdom beyond her years to the roles, and she understands like the relationships that she's trying to portray and the importance of that, and that she's very watchable. I really enjoy her. So I think she could definitely be, she really already is a star. She comes from Hollywood royalty or movie royalty. And she, and she acquitted herself very well in the Harry Potter movies. So if she becomes a huge star, that wouldn't be that big of a surprise because she already really is a star because of the Harry Potter franchise. But it's also relatively, we've seen a lot of people in her position that kind of self-destruct by either, living life badly off the set or by choosing bad movie roles and that sort of thing. And she seems to be careful about the roles that she wants to get involved in, which is good for her. I really would not be surprised to see her as, like like you said, like the next it person as far as actresses are concerned. I'm trying to think.
Oh, by the way, Steve, the actor that played the Express was Rob Brown. And Rob Brown was pretty much more noted for his portrayal as Jamal Wallace in Finding Forrester, where he and
Oh, okay.
he shared the screen with Sean Connery throughout the majority of that film. And he was also in a movie with Antonio Banderas. The name escapes me right now. Take the Lead. And so, and he was in a TV series called Trimmer. He was in The Blind Spot TV series. He plays an investigator in that TV series that's on currently. So decent actor. But he did a really good job in that movie, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been informational and exciting.
Yes, it has.
I agree.
Well, I'd like to end this with saying, there's a lot of really good actors out there. We just chose the 3 that we chose for this evening. But just goes to show you that we actually had a lot of actors and actresses to choose from. There's been some really nice performances in this past current decade. And we hope that you'll investigate further and find your favorites. Go ahead, Karen. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, there's just like for me, there were so many people that I could have chosen for like the last 10 years. I could have chosen Natalie Portman. I could have chosen Melissa Leo. I could have chosen David Oyelowo. I could have chosen Denzel Washington. I could have chosen. There's so many people who've just like brought some really awesome performances. I love Natalie Portman and Jackie, for example. I just saw that not too long ago, and I just thought she was brilliant in her portrayal of Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy Onassis. And and like Emma Stone is really good.
Love Emma Stone. Yep.
I love Jessica Chastain and Miss Sloane. She was awesome. That was like a tour de force for her. She carried that whole movie, and she was terrific.
And I'm a fan of Amy Adams too. I think she's a
love Amy Adams.
Yep. So loved
her in Nocturnal Animals with Jake Gyllenhaal. So there's a wealth of people that could have been chosen.
Indeed. Well, with that being said, we're about to head out of here, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that you enjoyed our show. We hope that you'll send us some comments on our Facebook page at A Real Point of View. If you're a Twitter person, you can find me out there at Real Movie Guy. And if you're a Facebook person, we have a fan page under A Real Point of View, and then also the Real Movie Guy fan page is out there. So if you have comments, questions, concerns, even if you have ideas for future shows, let us know. Send us an email or a tweet or leave a comment on our Facebook page and or on our YouTube channel. So we want to say thank you again for listening, and please come back again and check out our archives and different shows that we've done to this point on our channel there, and also on Blog Talk Radio under A Real Point of View for some archives of our radio show. Any final words, you guys, before we head out of here?
Next week's show, are we taking a walk on the wild side of the 1980s?
I think we are. 1987.
Favorite movies from 1987. So 30-year movies that will be celebrating their 30th year in circulation, our favorites. So please come back to hear what we have to say about that.
And we usually have a lot to say, as you can tell. Steve?
Also, for anyone out there that's interested, we've talked a lot about Wonder Woman on this show multiple times, and how this movie will really set a standard for Warner Brothers doing their DC Universe thing. this movie delivers on so many levels. I'm actually thinking about a couple scenes, replaying it in my mind. I've gotten goosebumps a second and a third time, just with the moments, and the acting is superb. The writing for all the characters is extremely well. Chris Pine and Gale interact perfectly with one another, and overall, it's a very, very good film, and well worth the money to go see it in theaters. If you've got it open Saturday night or Friday night or anything, so
Okay.
go check that out. It's very, very worth it, and it actually gets me a little bit leaning more toward going to see Justice League when it comes out.
Oh my God.
I
That's
know, huh?
earth-shattering.
You know what? We got to give them their due, but we, give them an opportunity, I should say, to see the films. Especially those of us who are more on the side of Marvel, the Marvel universe, which is me. I'm a Marvel universe person, but I grew up collecting DC comics too. So Batman, of course, is my favorite out of that so far, and Aquaman, believe it or not. So I'm after watching Batman versus Superman, I knew Wonder Woman would be special, and because of the actress playing her also, and so I look forward to seeing the movie, and especially after your words now, Steve, and also your words to me privately about the film. I'm excited. So I think everybody should try to take the opportunity to see that one too. Well, thanks again, everybody. We're out of here. Thanks again for hanging out with us here on A Real Point of View. We want to wish you good night, and make sure you get out there and see a movie. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Good night.
Bye.
Night.